For nearly half a century, the Terracotta Army has been presented as one of archaeology's greatest wonders, a silent force of thousands of life-sized warriors standing watch over the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. Every year, millions of visitors gaze into the vast excavation pits and marvel at the precision of the clay soldiers, believing they understand their purpose. But what if the warriors are only the beginning? What if the greatest secret has never been the army itself, but what lies beneath it? Recent advances in non-invasive archaeological technology have allowed researchers to study areas of the burial complex that remain untouched by excavation. Instead of digging into the earth, scientists now rely on remote sensing, ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR mapping, and high-resolution imaging to create detailed pictures of what may exist below the surface. Among the explorers helping to showcase these technologies is Albert Lin, an engineer and National Geographic explorer known for combining cutting-edge science with archaeology. Rather than disturbing fragile historical sites, Lin's work has focused on revealing hidden landscapes through advanced scanning methods, offering new perspectives on places that traditional excavation cannot safely reach. The Terracotta Army is the perfect place for such an approach. Discovered in 1974 by farmers digging a well near Xi'an, the site quickly transformed historians' understanding of ancient China. Thousands of individually crafted clay warriors emerged from underground, each with unique facial features, hairstyles, armor, and weapons. The discovery stunned the world, but archaeologists soon realized the soldiers represented only one small section of a much larger imperial burial complex. In reality, the mausoleum stretches across dozens of square kilometers. The soldiers are only part of an enormous underground landscape that includes ceremonial buildings, burial pits, bronze chariots, stables, administrative structures, and the still unopened central tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang. Ancient Chinese historian Sima Qian described the tomb as containing rivers of flowing mercury, jeweled ceilings representing the stars, and an underground palace built to mirror the emperor's empire on Earth. For centuries, many scholars debated whether those descriptions were symbolic. Then scientific surveys began producing unexpected evidence. Soil testing around the central burial mound detected unusually high concentrations of mercury compared with surrounding areas. While researchers cannot confirm exactly what lies inside the unopened chamber, these findings have encouraged renewed interest in ancient historical accounts describing mercury within the tomb. Yet despite decades of research, archaeologists have deliberately refused to open the emperor's burial chamber. The reason has nothing to do with superstition. It has everything to do with preservation. When smaller sections of the Terracotta Army were first excavated, archaeologists witnessed a heartbreaking problem. Brightly painted surfaces that had survived underground for more than 2,000 years began fading and peeling within minutes of exposure to air. Precious historical information disappeared almost instantly because conservation technology at the time could not preserve it quickly enough. That experience permanently changed archaeological strategy. Instead of rushing to excavate the emperor's tomb, researchers shifted toward non-invasive investigation. Every new scanning technique offers another opportunity to learn without risking irreversible damage. As these technologies improved, scientists began identifying previously unknown underground features surrounding the mausoleum. Some appeared to be walls. Others resembled buried chambers. Several suggested that the burial complex extended farther than earlier maps had indicated. None of these discoveries proved sensational legends about hidden treasure or supernatural forces. Instead, they revealed something arguably more remarkable. The mausoleum was not simply a tomb. It was an enormous underground city, carefully planned to reflect the political order of the Qin Empire itself. Every road, every structure, every defensive position, every ceremonial space, everything had been designed with astonishing precision. But one question remained unanswered. If the Terracotta Army already guarded the emperor's resting place, why was such an unimaginably vast complex necessary? As researchers continued mapping areas beyond the famous warrior pits, a different picture slowly began to emerge. one suggesting that the soldiers may have been protecting far more than a single royal burial. They may have been standing watch over the legacy of an empire built through conquest, ambition, and extraordinary human sacrifice. As researchers expanded their surveys beyond the famous rows of clay warriors, an extraordinary pattern began to emerge. The Terracotta Army was never an isolated monument. It was one carefully planned section of an enormous imperial landscape stretching far beyond the excavation pits that visitors see today. Modern mapping revealed roads, walls, workshops, storage areas, ceremonial buildings, and numerous burial pits surrounding the emperor's still-sealed tomb. Taken together, they resembled the blueprint of an entire capital city. Ancient Chinese records describe Qin Shi Huang as a ruler determined to maintain his authority even after death. According to historian Sima Qian, the emperor ordered artisans and engineers to recreate important elements of his empire beneath the earth. Whether every detail of those ancient descriptions is accurate remains uncertain, but archaeological discoveries increasingly show that the mausoleum was designed as far more than a simple burial place. It was intended to function as an eternal kingdom. The Terracotta Army represented only one part of that vision. Excavations have uncovered cavalry units, infantry formations, archers, military officers, bronze chariots, stable complexes, entertainers, musicians, government officials, and even clay waterfowl positioned within separate sections of the burial complex. Each discovery suggested remarkable planning. Nothing appeared random. Every structure occupied a deliberate position within a carefully organized underground world. This is where Albert Lin's style of exploration became especially valuable. Instead of asking, "What object can we uncover next?" researchers increasingly asked a different question. What does the entire landscape reveal? Using advanced remote sensing and digital mapping technologies, archaeologists could examine relationships between structures that had never before been studied as a single system. Rather than focusing only on individual artifacts, they began analyzing the overall design of the complex. The results were striking. The emperor's tomb stood at the symbolic center. Military formations occupied defensive positions. Administrative areas appeared separated from ceremonial spaces. Roadways connected different sections with remarkable precision. From above, the burial complex resembled a functioning capital rather than a cemetery. Albert Lin has often emphasized that modern technology allows archaeologists to see landscapes instead of isolated ruins. By combining aerial surveys, digital modeling, and non-invasive scanning, researchers can identify hidden patterns impossible to recognize while standing on the ground. Those patterns raised an intriguing possibility. Perhaps the Terracotta Army was never intended simply to guard one man. Perhaps it protected an entire underground government. The more archaeologists learned about Qin Shi Huang's reign, the more logical that interpretation became. The first emperor unified China after centuries of warfare, standardized writing, currency, measurements, and transportation systems, and launched enormous construction projects across the empire. His government revolved around strict organization, order, discipline, control. It would hardly be surprising if those same principles extended into the design of his mausoleum. Every soldier, every official, every servant, every horse, every building, each may have represented a permanent continuation of imperial authority beyond death. Yet one area remains almost completely unexplored. At the center of the burial complex rises the emperor's burial mound. Unlike the surrounding pits, this chamber has never been excavated. Chinese archaeologists have repeatedly explained that current technology cannot guarantee preservation of whatever remains inside. Until conservation methods improve, the decision has been to leave the tomb undisturbed rather than risk destroying irreplaceable history. That decision has fueled decades of speculation. Ancient writings describe hidden chambers, mercury-filled waterways, mechanical traps designed to discourage intruders, magnificent treasures. Historians continue debating how much of those descriptions should be interpreted literally. Scientific surveys have provided intriguing clues, but no definitive answers. The emperor's greatest secret still lies behind a chamber that has remained sealed for more than 2,000 years. And perhaps that is exactly how Qin Shi Huang intended it. But while attention remained fixed on the unopened tomb, another mystery was quietly emerging elsewhere within the burial complex. Researchers weren't simply detecting walls or hidden rooms anymore. Some surveys hinted at something far more significant. Evidence that thousands of ordinary people may have become part of the emperor's final monument in ways history had never fully explained. The deeper archaeologists investigated the mausoleum complex, the clearer it became that the Terracotta Army was only one chapter of a much larger story. The emperor's burial site was not built by a handful of craftsmen. Historical records describe a workforce numbering in the hundreds of thousands. According to ancient historian Sima Qian, laborers, artisans, engineers, soldiers, and prisoners worked for decades constructing the enormous complex. The exact number remains debated by historians, but few dispute that it was one of the largest construction projects of the ancient world. Such a project demanded an extraordinary human cost. For years, archaeologists concentrated on the magnificent statues, bronze weapons, and carefully designed buildings. But modern surveys encouraged researchers to look beyond the famous discoveries and examine the spaces between them. What they found was just as important. Scattered throughout the wider mausoleum complex are numerous burial pits containing the remains of workers, animals, officials, and sacrificial victims. Some pits preserve evidence of horses buried alongside chariots. Others contain entertainers, musicians, and acrobats crafted in clay, suggesting that Qin Shi Huang intended every aspect of court life to continue in the afterlife. Yet there are also graves that tell a far darker story. Archaeological excavations have uncovered human remains believed to belong to laborers and individuals connected to construction of the mausoleum. Historical texts also describe severe punishments during the Qin Dynasty and claim that some workers were prevented from leaving after completing sensitive sections of the project. Exactly how many people may have died during construction remains unknown, and historians continue to debate the accuracy of those ancient accounts. This is where Albert Lin's work adds another layer of understanding. Instead of searching for spectacular treasure, non-invasive surveys reveal patterns beneath the surface, patterns showing how different structures relate to one another across the entire landscape. Rather than isolated discoveries, researchers begin seeing a complete system. Hidden walls connect separate compounds. Previously unknown enclosures appear beside ceremonial buildings. Buried foundations suggest additional structures that have never been excavated. Each scan helps reconstruct a city that has remained underground for more than 2,000 years. What becomes increasingly clear is that the emperor wanted nothing left to chance. The military had its place. Government officials had theirs. Animals occupied designated sections. Ceremonial spaces followed strict layouts. Even the positioning of roads reflected careful planning. The underground world mirrored the highly organized empire Qin Shi Huang ruled during his lifetime. But perhaps the most remarkable decision made by modern archaeologists has been what they have not done. They have chosen patience. Despite worldwide fascination, Chinese researchers continue resisting calls to open the emperor's central tomb. They argue that today's technology still cannot adequately protect the fragile artifacts, organic materials, paintings, textiles, and wooden structures that may survive inside. Past experience has proven their caution justified. When early excavations exposed painted terracotta warriors to fresh air, much of their original color disappeared within minutes. Conservation scientists fear the same irreversible damage could occur on an even greater scale if the sealed burial chamber were opened prematurely. That means some of history's greatest archaeological secrets remain intentionally untouched. For now, the emperor's underground palace continues to guard its mysteries. No one has walked inside. No one has photographed its interior. No one knows exactly what survives behind those sealed walls. Ironically, the world's most famous unopened tomb remains protected not by soldiers, but by modern science itself. Every year, new scanning methods improve. Higher resolution radar, more accurate satellite imaging, advanced digital reconstruction. Each technological breakthrough reveals another small piece of the puzzle without disturbing the site itself. And with every new discovery, one conclusion grows stronger. The Terracotta Army was never simply guarding a single ruler. It was protecting an entire underground empire, one designed to preserve the political order, beliefs, and absolute authority of China's first emperor for eternity. Yet one final mystery remains. If researchers already know so much without opening the tomb, what do they believe still lies inside the emperor's sealed burial chamber? That question has divided archaeologists for decades, and the answer may be even more extraordinary than the legends. For more than 2,000 years, the central tomb of Qin Shi Huang has remained sealed beneath an earthen mound outside Xi'an. Countless empires have risen and fallen. Wars have reshaped nations. Entire civilizations have disappeared. Yet the emperor's burial chamber has never been opened. That decision is not based on mystery alone. It is based on responsibility. Archaeologists understand that once the tomb is opened, there is no second chance. Every object inside will immediately begin interacting with air, moisture, bacteria, and changes in temperature. Lessons learned from the terracotta warriors themselves have shown how quickly priceless artifacts can deteriorate after excavation. Protecting history sometimes means leaving it untouched until better preservation technology exists. Even without entering the chamber, scientific surveys have transformed our understanding of the site. Ground-penetrating radar, magnetic surveys, soil analysis, three-dimensional mapping. Each technique has revealed another piece of an extraordinary puzzle. Researchers now believe the mausoleum represents one of the most sophisticated burial complexes ever created in the ancient world. Rather than constructing a simple tomb, Qin Shi Huang ordered the creation of an underground capital designed to mirror the empire he ruled in life. The Terracotta Army formed its military defense. Government officials occupied administrative areas. Bronze chariots stood ready for ceremonial processions. Animals, musicians, and servants completed the emperor's eternal court. Together, they created the illusion that imperial rule would continue forever. One of the most discussed mysteries involves mercury. Ancient historian Sima Qian wrote that rivers and seas of liquid mercury flowed inside the emperor's burial chamber, representing China's waterways beneath a ceiling decorated with stars. For centuries, many historians regarded this description as symbolic. Then, modern soil testing detected unusually high mercury concentrations around the burial mound. While this does not prove exactly what lies inside, it provides remarkable scientific support for at least part of the ancient historical account. Because of these findings, many experts believe opening the tomb without advanced protective systems could endanger both researchers and the artifacts themselves. For now, the emperor's greatest secret remains safely underground. Albert Lin's work demonstrates why modern archaeology is changing. Instead of rushing to uncover history with shovels, researchers increasingly rely on technology capable of revealing hidden landscapes without destroying them. Digital reconstruction, remote sensing, aerial mapping, and advanced scanning allow scientists to ask larger questions about how ancient civilizations organize their worlds. Sometimes the greatest discovery is not a treasure chest. It is understanding the bigger picture. And in the case of the Terracotta Army, that bigger picture is extraordinary. The warriors were never simply decorative statues. They formed part of an immense political statement. Every carefully sculpted face, every military formation, every hidden road, every underground structure reflected Qin Shi Huang's belief that order, authority, and imperial power should continue beyond death. In that sense, the Terracotta Army is guarding something far greater than one emperor's remains. It protects the physical blueprint of China's first unified empire. It preserves the ambitions of a ruler who transformed the course of Chinese history. And it reminds us of the immense human effort and sacrifice that made such a monumental achievement possible. Many mysteries remain unanswered. Will the central tomb ever be opened? What fragile treasures still survive inside? How accurately did ancient historians describe the underground palace? Future generations, armed with technologies yet to be invented, may finally answer those questions. Until then, the Emperor's silent army continues its watch exactly as it has for more than 20 centuries. Not merely guarding a ruler, but protecting one of humanity's greatest archaeological mysteries, an underground world that still has many stories left to tell. The greatest lesson from Albert Lin's investigations is not that archaeology has uncovered every secret. It is that the most powerful discoveries often come from asking better questions rather than digging deeper. Sometimes history does not reveal itself through excavation. Sometimes it reveals itself through patience. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more original, research-based stories exploring history's greatest mysteries and the science that continues to uncover them.